Part 45. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 460. One more. From knowing Zhou Mikang to now, Chu Xia is the first time to see him being so enthusiastic about people. Except for getting along with her in private, he has always been indifferent. Even when he is with his relatives, he would say something and never show any intimacy. Like now, holding Lin Wenbin's hand and speaking with great interest really made her uncomfortable. Not only she was not used to it, but everyone else was not used to it except Lin Wenbin. Later, at the whole table, only Zhou Mikang and Lin Wenbin were talking, and everyone else looked like they were studying. Everyone's stares didn't make Zhou Mikang feel uncomfortable. Lin Wenbin couldn't bear it anymore. Brother-in-law, from my perspective, you have never been very enthusiastic about people. Can I ask, where did I catch your eyes? Brother, tell me, we've talked for so long, what's your impression of me? Are you satisfied? Lin Wenbin nodded hesitantly. It's not bad. Do you still think it's a loss for Chu Xia to marry me? Everyone suddenly realized that this was the reason for their enthusiasm. It really was all about one thing, so everyone's eyes turned to Chu Xia, and they smiled meaningfully. Chu Xia coughed uncomfortably, and pinched Zhou Mikang quietly. As a result, before she could retract her hand, she was firmly held by the other party, and she couldn't pull it back no matter how hard she pulled it. With so many people, she didn't dare to struggle too hard. Luo Xiaoxian was sitting at an angle that just looked at the hands of the two of them, and the corners of her mouth unconsciously curled up, whispering in Chuxia's ear, "Tisk tisk. Feeling so nice, so sweet. I'm so envious. Chu Xia has a black line, this is the best friend. This is a best friend, there are no scruples, don't know if they will be shy. Can't you just pretend you didn't see anything?" After pondering for a long time, Lin Wenbin seriously answered Zhou Mikang's question. I believe that Chu Xia married you at that time. I was not completely willing, so I still say the same thing. If I found my second uncle's family earlier, are we going to marry you? It will make it so easy for you to marry Chu Xia back home. However, even if you find the second uncle's family now, it's not too late. If you dare to bully Chu Xia, if you feel sorry for Chu Xia in the slightest, even if the Lin family goes bankrupt, they will not let you go. Chu Xia is a child of our Lin family, and my younger sister, Lin Wenbin, who protects her from harm. It's my responsibility, that's why I was transferred to City A to work. Hear him say that. I didn't know until early summer. The real purpose of his coming to City A, her eyes were red when she couldn't control it, that's right. If she had relied on her at that time, it was indeed impossible to marry Zhou Mikang so easily. From this age, what she fears most is that her face will ruin her life. Since ancient times, a confidante has had such a bad life. What she fears most is that this sentence will come true to her, so she lives with trepidation and care. Although she was not afraid of being forced to marry by the Xue family, she was very confused. Therefore, when Zhou Mikang proposed to marry her, even if she didn't think it through at the time, she still compromised. For her at that time, marrying Zhou Mikang was a compromise with life, a compromise with fate. Fortunately, everything later proved that she married the right person. But, no matter what, Lin Wenbin was protecting her like this now, which moved her. It also made her feel at ease. She picked up the wine bottle on her own, filled herself with a cup of white wine, and raised it tremblingly. Her voice was hoarse. Brother, thank you, I know drinking is not good, but now, I feel that wine must be used to express my heart. Chu Xia, brother should be nice to you, what are you doing? Lin Wenbin stared at her seriously. Girls are not allowed to drink, change the water, and brother Shui will drink with you. No, I'm going to drink, just this time, this is the first time I drink. Brother, if you don't drink, it means that you are afraid of taking responsibility, afraid that I will always trouble you in the future, afraid. Okay, okay. Listening to her constant scaring, Lin Wenbin quickly raised his wine glass to touch her. Brother, it's done, just touch your lips as you like. Well, I know, if I drink this cup all at once, I probably won't be able to bear it. Chu Xia raised his glass and held his breath to drink half of it. Zhou Mikang quickly picked up a piece of cucumber and stuffed it into her mouth. Hurry up and eat. Cai, you are really capable of acting, he said, looking at Lin Wenbin with jealousy. It's all because of you. Jingzhe, who was sitting beside Dean Su, kept a faint smile on his face, but felt a deep sense of loss in his heart. From now on, as an older brother, it will be impossible to care about her and protect her. Brother. After taking a few mouthfuls of food, Chu Xia raised his glass to Jingzhe again. I must respect this glass of wine, since I have been serving as a soldier, my brother has been helping me. I won't say any unnecessary polite words. In short, the position of the eldest brother in my heart is definitely not lower than that of the second brother. However, if there is a layer of blood relationship, there will be more grounds for criticism, so I will try my best to pay attention to it in the future. But it's not that I'm not close to Big Brother, you should understand. I understand. There was faint moisture in Jingzhe's eyes. He felt very uncomfortable, understood Chu Xia's meaning, and knew that this was the best way, but he still had a feeling of being abandoned. He wanted to say that Chu Xia should drink less, but he was afraid that the sobs in his voice would make people think too much, so he raised his head and downed a glass of wine. The burning sensation in his stomach finally suppressed a little sadness in his heart. Zhou Mikang wanted to stop Chu Xia, but he stretched out his hand halfway and then retracted it. He knew how much Jingzhe had paid for Chu Xia. When he was not around, he had been taking care of her and protecting her for him, and, yes, there is no purposeful care and protection. From any perspective, he should be grateful to him. The big deal is that he takes care of her when she is drunk. There is a trick. After Jingzhe finished drinking the wine in his cup, he reached out to snatch Chu Xia's wine cup. Just drink less and make sense, brother of your mind knows, don't torment yourself with wine. I've already finished drinking. Chu Xia dried the empty wine cup, blinking her eyes innocently. This wine is quite delicious, a little sweet and a little spicy, and it's still warm after drinking in front of Zhou Mikang. Pour me some more. Don't drink any more. Zhou Mikang glared at her. This is wine, not water, and you have to go to work in the afternoon. What are you doing? Nonsense. I'll respect Dean Su and the teacher for a cup, and I won't drink any more. Okay. Chu Xia suddenly blinked her big eyes, like a puppy begging for food. Seeing Zhou Mikang's heart softening, he hesitated. Do you want to pour some more for her? Seeing his entanglement, Dean Su smiled and said, Chu Xia, you have to respect us, just use water. Chu Xia, do you really think the wine tastes good? Song Xiao asked curiously. Chu Xia nodded her head vigorously. Yeah, teacher, why don't you try it? Try a little less because they have to go to work in the afternoon. Dean Su and Song Xiao didn't drink. I'll try it. Luo Xiaoxian couldn't wait to hand over a wine cup and stepped forward, staring at Zhou Mikang. Leader, just give me a little bit and let me taste it. Zhou Mikang just poured a little bit at the bottom of the cup for her. Cough, sizzling. The movement was too quick, and the wine poured into his stomach all at once. Luo Xiaoxian anxiously wanted to pick his throat with his hand, but he couldn't speak while pointing at Chu Xia with the other hand. As for, Chu Xia looked at her wonderingly, are you real or just pretending? I have nothing to pretend. Luo Xiaoxian rolled her eyes at her in displeasure. I want to ask you, is it true or just pretending? Chu Xia said with a serious face, I really think it's delicious. Then he slapped his forehead suddenly. It seems that this is my specialty. I really didn't expect that I still have such an arrogant specialty. Stop it. Zhou Mikang stared at her. Even if you have this specialty, You are not allowed to drink alcohol. Just because you don't feel your body doesn't mean you won't hurt your liver, you know. I know quite a lot, Chusia muttered. Seeing that the head of the regiment's face turned dark, he hurriedly said, "Don't worry, I won't drink and play if it's okay. I'll check it for you when I go back. I didn't expect you to have such a specialty." Song Xiao looked at her amusedly. "Don't get addicted to alcohol one day and drink up my medical alcohol." Dean Su also joked with a smile, "It's really possible. It seems that you have to say hello to the medical room as soon as you go back. Without your signature, you must not let her take the alcohol away." "Dean, teacher, what are you doing?" Chu Xia's face twitched like a bitter gourd. "I'm just not sensitive to alcohol, and I'm not addicted to alcohol." Zhou Mikang solemnly told everyone, "Just the few of us know about this matter, and we must not spread it to the outside world." Lin Wenbin stared at him unkindly. "What, do you think my sister is ashamed of drinking?" Zhou Mikang frowned. "I don't want others to pour alcohol on her in the future. Didn't I say that since she is not sensitive to alcohol, it doesn't mean it won't hurt her body?" "Okay, I blamed you wrong, and I apologize to you." Lin Wenbin also looked at Chu Xia solemnly. "Girl, it's better not to drink alcohol, this matter depends on brother-in-law, you understand?" "Understood. How about you one by one?" Chu Xia pouted dissatisfiedly. "It's better to be my elder brother." Jingzhe quickly interrupted her. "I have the same opinion as them, but I won't say anything after they said it." "Chu Xia, are you still letting people live? Is she that unreliable person?" Dean Su, who had been listening with a smile on his face, straightened his expression, looked at Chu Xia and said, "Anyway, this is a very good specialty, and it may really benefit you someday. So, it is still necessary to conceal it." "Chu Xia, don't think the big guy is wordy. If he didn't really care about you, who would talk about you like this? Right? There is a villain in Chu Xia's heart who is shouting, 'I am not an ignorant child, please, can I be like this? First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind.'" Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 461. The second watch arrives. "You're not quite right today, what's the matter?" After returning to the hospital after dinner, it was still more than 20 minutes before work time. Chu Xia didn't get out of the car, and began to interrogate Zhou Mikang. "What's wrong with me?" Zhou Mikang tried his best to recall the situation. "Is my behavior quite normal? Are you thinking too much? Or are you jealous? I'm telling you something serious, Zhou Mikang, although we haven't known each other for a long time, I still know a little about your temper. I've never seen you be so enthusiastic about anyone. Today, you are a little too enthusiastic about Lin Wenbin. Although you later explained that you didn't want the Lin family to think that you took advantage of me by marrying me, I know that is definitely not the main reason. If you believe me, just tell me. Of course, I don't have to know your secret, but I just think that you shouldn't let you leave with your worries." The corners of Zhou Mikang's lips curled into a narrow smile, afraid of leaving regrets. "Can you be more serious?" Chu Xia stared at him helplessly. "Also, can you stop saying unlucky things? The Chinese New Year is very close, can we be more reliable? Aren't you a little too sensitive?" Seeing that Chu Xia frowned, Zhou Mikang hurriedly said, "Well, to be honest, I don't want you to have no backing when I'm not around. In the past, there was no way to choose Jingzhe. Now that Lin Wenbin has appeared, he is the most suitable candidate. He is your cousin, and no one will make irresponsible remarks. But me. As your husband, I cannot protect you with all my heart. If you want to trouble uncle, of course you need to show sincerity. To tell you the truth, this is the first time I have grown up to please others, so don't mention the awkwardness." "Really?" Chu Xia stared into his eyes. "Do you mind if Jingzhe helps me?" "I don't mind, but it's not fair to him." Zhou Mikang looked serious. "Actually, you are aware of this problem, right? Yes, Chu Xia laughed. Hey, Lin Wenbin and I are getting close, aren't you jealous? If possible, I hope that I will always take care of you and protect you. However, when people are involuntary, I can't ignore your safety for the sake of so-called self-esteem. Who hurt me today? The topic changed so quickly. Zhou Mikang was taken aback by her. Then he sighed softly, you, nothing can fool you. You go around so many circles just to make me lose my vigilance. Fall into your trap, right? I'm sorry, Chu Xia smiled sheepishly, I didn't mean to scheme against you sincerely. I know you didn't tell me that I lived in fear, and I knew it too. You arranged for someone to protect me so that I wouldn't really fall into danger. However, I still want to know the truth. Because I don't want to be a stupid rabbit who doesn't know anything. When I was taken away by a wolf, I was still wondering why I was chosen. Zhou Mikang said with a smile on his face, who wants to raise you into a stupid rabbit who doesn't know anything? I didn't intend to hide what happened in the morning from you, but I didn't tell you at the time whether it was a conspiracy or an accident. Now it seems that it is only a coincidence. Rao Shui was released, and Rao Ying came to get her something, just happened to see you, and then happened to see the result riding a bicycle, so she gave her a hard push, just a coincidence. As a result, the brakes of the bicycle were not good, and it was completely out of control when pushed by her. But for the time being, I haven't let anyone do it yet, so be careful, there is no big mistake, just wait and see. According to her temperament, as long as she creates a little tension for her, she can mess up her hands and feet. Are you sure you really understand her? Chu Xia looked at him with a half smile, aren't you afraid that you're scaring her so that the helpers quickly retreat? I used to be classmates with her, and we had occasional contacts. If she really had a big backer, it would be impossible for Rao Shui to be detained. The relationship between their sisters is very good. In this way, you can understand why she targeted you so much. What are you going to do about this? I will make her dare not trouble you in the future. Don't worry, Zhou Mikang patted her on the shoulder, since I caught her, I can't easily let her go. Chu Xia believed that Zhou Mikang would handle this matter well, so she stopped asking and changed the subject. By the way, can you come back during the Chinese New Year? According to the time, I should be back. Now the rotation system is implemented, and each military region is stationed for 3 months, so you can rest assured that I will have a lot of time to accompany you after the Chinese New Year. Brother, you're being a little self-indulgent. Chu Xia rolled his eyes at him. I asked if you could come back, to prepare in advance how to arrange for the New Year. My parents will come over in a few days, and they will probably stay here to accompany me during the Chinese New Year, but after the New Year, they always have to go back to visit relatives. This is the first year after we got married. According to the customs there, you are going to kowtow to my grandparents. So, I have to ask in advance, if you can't go, we will go back after the 4th day of junior high school. I can't explain the specific reason. She really didn't understand. When she came back from Lin's house, Zhao Yulan told her to write to Zhou Mikang to confirm this in advance. Now that she saw the real person, it would save trouble. Can't you act like you can't do without me? Zhou Mikang looked at her with a headache. Why do you always act like you don't care about me at all? Master, you said when you married me that you want to win my heart slowly. What's the rush? I'm patient, but you have to give something back, right? TCH, is it that easy to want my heart? Chu Xia rolled his eyes at him, then pulled him with a smirk. Zhou Mikang, are you sure, you really want my heart? Nonsense. If I, Lin Chuxia, really fall in love with you, I will not allow you to be nice to any woman except your relatives. Just like you go to your ex-girlfriend's house today, I will not allow you, unless I am with you. After falling in love I am so domineering and unreasonable. Are you sure you want it? Are you jealous after doing it for a long time? Zhou Mikang smiled narrowly. If you want to know what Yamiru and I said, just ask openly, do you need to go around in such a big circle? Chusia, you are getting more and more jealous. You're so cute, you're always going around in circles with me today. You, who will know? Chusia gave him a middle finger, quickly opened the car door to get out of the car, and trotted into the yard. Jo Mikang stared at her back and disappeared at the door until he couldn't see her, and was still in a daze. Did she really not care? Or pretending not to care? Which one is the answer? He still doesn't mind. Then, he shook his head amusedly. He actually let his little wife drag his nose away. He was really promising, but he liked this feeling. To be able to really care about a person, to be happy with her joy, to be worried about her worry, and to think of her coming to warm my heart, this kind of feeling, he finally found it. If the younger sister was alive, she would be happy for him. Thinking of Josei Aureo, the smile on his face faded little by little. Once, Rao Rao hugged his arm and discussed with him what is happiness and what is love. She said that her biggest wish in this life is to have a brother who loves her, and a lover who loves her, who can make her care, let her warm love her. Unfortunately, she left him before she could fulfill her wish. Chusia asked him why he was so enthusiastic about Lin Wenbin, and he said that he wanted to give her a backer. In fact, the real reason was that his little sister's wish hadn't been fulfilled, and he hoped that Chusia would be able to. In the final analysis, he also wanted to find a backer for Chusia, but the feeling was different. For a moment, he wanted to tell Chusia the truth, but when the words came to his lips, he changed his words again. He was worried that Chusia would misunderstand him and treat her as the shadow of my sister. His feelings for his sister are of course different from those he has for Chusia, but explanations are sometimes the most powerless, and misunderstandings are the most difficult to eliminate. Based on the principle that more things are worse than less things, he can only choose to conceal them. This is not cheating, but true love. But, even thinking about it like this, he still felt uncomfortable. He sighed heavily, started the car and drove out, comforting himself in his heart, that one day, they will be able to talk about everything. At the door of the meeting room, he met Zhou Jingping. Because of his younger sister, he couldn't get close to his father, so he just smiled lightly and quickly entered the meeting room. Zhou Jingping, who originally wanted to say a few words to him, was stunned for a long time before walking in. Noticing that his father was worried about staring at him from time to time, he sighed secretly. He understood the reason, and said in his heart that he didn't mind, but it was still difficult for him to have no grudges from the bottom of his heart. The meeting lasted for a full hour and a half, mainly to make specific arrangements for everyone's future work, and the time for their departure was also set. On January 15, the marching speed was accelerated on the road, and Xiaonian would almost return. After the meeting was over, he was slapped on the shoulder. Looking back, it was Qiao Jingjun. The other party smiled and said, "What are you thinking? When I came in, I greeted you and ignored me. Sorry, I've been a little tired these days, and I'm in a trance, so I didn't hear it." Qiao Jingjun smiled meaningfully, "I understand." Zhou Mikang could tell what he was thinking just by looking at him, so he slapped him on the forehead angrily. "What are you thinking about? Let you drive around day and night for 3 days and try. If you weren't in a hurry to see your sister-in-law, would you need to work so hard?" Qiao Jingjun said while hiding aside. "Third brother, I have something serious to tell you, can you stop making trouble?" Zhou Mikang squinted at him and said nothing. Qiao Jingjun bowed his hand to him fawningly. "Okay, I was wrong, I was the one making trouble. I really have something to ask third brother, let's go outside and talk, okay?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 462. It's 3 o'clock, and I'm finally done. There were still quite a few people in the conference room, and it was indeed not a place to talk privately. Zhou Mikang agreed to Qiao Jingjun's request. Before going out, he walked to Zhou Jingping's side and whispered something in his ear. Zhou Jingping's tense face eased, he nodded at him, and then smiled at Qiao Jingjun, who was a little surprised, and quickly grinned the corners of his mouth to his ears. "What are you doing with your old man?" After leaving the door, Qiao Jingjun wiped his forehead. "I'm too uncomfortable with your old man's sudden enthusiasm." Zhou Mikang snorted, "When did my dad stop being enthusiastic? We usually make him train like a dog." "When do you think he is not enthusiastic?" Qiao Jing sighed pretendingly. "One day you will be placed under his nose, and you will understand my mood." Of course Zhou Mikang knew about his father's majesty when he was leading the army and the strict demands on his subordinates, so he stopped entangled in this issue. "What do you want me to do? Tell me." After hesitating for a while, Qiao Jingjun put away his smirk. "Third brother, let Rao Ying go, okay?" Zhou Mikang's face turned cold all of a sudden. "That's why you came to me. Don't be angry, third brother, don't be angry." Qiao Jingjun was afraid that he would turn around and leave, so he quickly grabbed his arm. "After listening to me, you can decide what to do, okay?" After all, they played together since they were young, so Zhou Mikang also wanted to hear what he had to say, so he nodded, "Okay. Tell me, I'll see what flower you can name." "I can't tell you about any flowers. I'm just telling you the truth." Qiao Jingjun smiled flatteringly, seeing that the other party's expression was a little impatient. Quickly cut to the chase. "Rao Ying came to see me at noon today, and she said that she was insane for a while, so she reached out and pushed the bicycle that happened to pass by her. I know that this matter is not worthy of forgiveness, and I also know that I have no qualifications or position to intercede, but you also know, third brother. After all, I liked her for a while, and seeing her get to where she is today makes me really uncomfortable. I hope that the third brother will show me face because we have played together since we were young. I promise, I will watch her and never let her do anything against my sister-in-law again. Moreover, I also guarantee that not only will she not do anything that is not good for her sister-in-law. She also told us what she knew about others going against my sister-in-law. One more insider is better than one more enemy. The third brother is often away, even if the third sister-in-law has protective staff around her, but it is inevitable that 100 secrets will be neglected, and it is always good to have multiple helpers." Zhou Mikang interrupted him, "Are you threatening me?" "Third brother, my dear third brother. Where are you thinking?" Qiao Jingjun's face wrinkled into a bitter gourd. "Why am I threatening you? I'm just giving you an analysis based on facts. It's not like you don't know the narrow-mindedness of women. If nothing else, just talk about Yamiru. It's obvious that she is sorry for you, but what do you think she has done? The third brother is a top figure in the circle. There are probably not a small number of girls who like the third brother. In the past, K. Raoying has been participating in activities in this circle. It's always good to have her help with reporting and so on. Third brother, don't you think so?" "I hear what you mean, planning to poach your cousin's corner." Zhou Mikang frowned and looked at him. "I said you are out of your mind. If you really do this kind of thing, do you still want your reputation?" "Third brother, you misunderstood. I don't plan to be with her." "Then you said you can control her. Why do you control her?" "Third brother, if I can control her, you will agree, is that what you mean?" "No." Zhou Mikang looked at him indifferently. "I'm just reminding you that there are some things, you should know what you should do or not." "Third brother, I'm not surprised that others said this. You said this that hurt my brother too much. It's not like you haven't loved." Sensing Zhou Mikang's anger, Qiao Jingjun's voice became lower and lower, not daring to go on. "She has to be responsible for what she has done. If I hadn't been here today, Chu Xia's injury would definitely not have been serious. Have you ever thought about this? Zhou Mikang turned around and left after speaking. Third brother, don't be angry, I haven't finished yet. Jiao Jingjun hurriedly grabbed him, with a trace of sadness on his face. Let me tell you the truth, Jiao Gang's character is a bit abnormal, and Rao Ying followed him quite a lot, and because of this, her personality has become more extreme than before. Third brother, you also know that when a person has nothing to think about, it is easiest to go to extremes. Now, I am her only straw. If I let go, she will be finished. Third brother, you are not only helping me with this matter, but also helping yourself. If you really catch her this time, you can't kill her, can you? If you don't die, there will always be a time to come out. Do you want to send someone to watch her every day after she comes out? Now that you are on a mission, Zhang Qi and Ma Chao have been arranged to protect the third sister-in-law. When you come back, can you still do this? Okay, no one is arranged by the superior, you can arrange it yourself, but will the life of the third sister-in-law become too unfree in that way? Third brother, don't misunderstand that I am threatening you. You can think about what I said carefully before deciding whether to let her live. Thank you for reminding me. Zhou Mikang patted him on the shoulder and strode away. What does this mean? Jiao Jingjun was dumbfounded. He wouldn't have reminded him, Zhou Laosan was going to silence him, right? In an instant, he panicked. If that was the case, he would be a sinner. After thinking for a while, he ran out to fetch rescuers. When I came back from get out of class in early summer, I saw a tall and strong figure in the office. I took a closer look. When I got married, I didn't lose money when I got married. This is the one with the wine glass on his lap. Hello, she greeted the other party with a smile, and said with embarrassment that she forgot the other party's name, and only remembered that the other party was Zhou Mikang's good friend. Hello, third sister-in-law. Jiao Jingjun smiled shyly. Sister-in-law third, are you out of class? Then he looked at Song Xiao, and Song, how about I ask my third sister-in-law to go out and have a few words? I'm on leave. Ask Chu Xia if she would like to talk to you about me not interfering. Chu Xia felt that there seemed to be too many people who came to her, and she asked for too much leave. There was also Wang Jing, who always wanted to compare with her, and didn't want to make it too difficult for Song Xiao, so she asked, can't you do it in person? Did the office say it? It doesn't seem convenient. Jiao Jingjun rubbed his hands with a look of embarrassment. It was the third brother who asked me to come to the third sister-in-law. It is a bit presumptuous to say that the third sister-in-law must nod for this matter. Teacher, I'll go out for a while. Chu Xia put down the book to say hello to Song Xiao, and then walked out. After the two left, Wang Jing hesitated for a while, and looked at Song Xiao. Teacher, how can Lin Chuxia calm down and study medicine like this? Tell me to do any work you have in the future. Didn't you promise me that day to teach Chu Xia without hiding your secrets? Song Xiao looked at her indifferently. I don't like people who go against their promises. If you feel that you are inferior to me, you can transfer to another department. I'll write your letter of recommendation for you. Teacher. Tears welled up in Wang Jing's eyes. I gave Lin Chuxia the chores to do, hoping to sharpen her temper. You see, she always asks for leave and always has friends. Visiting is too easy to get restless. If the teacher thinks it is inappropriate, I will do it well in the future. Song Xiao sighed lightly, and stopped talking. She really gave up now. Mountains are easy to move, sex is hard to change. She thinks too highly of herself. Wang Jing bit her lip and stopped talking. After being with Song Xiao for so long, she knows her temper too well. If you bother her when she doesn't want to talk, it will only make things worse. It seems that as long as I can ask my aunt for help. Chu Xia followed Jiao Jingjun to a secluded corner of the yard and said, if you need anything, please tell me. Jiao Jingjun hurriedly said, Sister-in-law 3, don't be so polite with me, third brother and I also grew up with bare buttocks, you are so polite, but you are seeing outsiders. Such a big black dog-legged half-bent body talking, it feels so much more ridiculous. Chuxia suppressed a smile and said, okay, you say it. Xiao Jingjun recounted to Chuxia everything he had said to Zhou Mikang, including the matter of Rao Ying's abuse, which he also truthfully told. Sighing, Chuxia said, you think Rao Ying is pitiful, but I don't think she is pitiful, and when I'm with Xiao Gang, no one forces her. She chooses the person herself. I don't tell you what the picture is. You may feel cold-blooded when I say this, but that's the truth, right? It's useless for you to beg me on this matter. I will listen to Zhou Mikang how to deal with it. Also, you and Zhou Mikang grew up together, so you should know him better than I do. Why do you think that he will kill Rao Ying just because of your reminder? He is not a fool. If Rao Ying is really dead, he will also be held legally responsible. The original intention was to make me safer. If he is locked in, how can he give me safety? How simple is this account, how can you not figure it out? Xiao Jingjun said with a bitter face, sister-in-law, third brother is usually very shrewd, but when you got married, I could see that he really cares about sister-in-law. When a man cares too much about a woman, he will easily lose his mind. Aren't I just an example? If I didn't care about Rao Ying, I wouldn't come here to beg my sister-in-law, don't you think so? You are you, he is him, don't confuse them. Chuxia waved at him, I don't want to get involved in this matter, go back to work, goodbye. Xiao Jingjun scratched his head irritably, this is really a couple. But what's the matter with leaving him here? First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 463. The hour hand pointed at 3:30, Wang Jing moved her butt uncomfortably, and coughed lightly. Seeing that Song Xiao didn't respond at all, she had to get up and go to her side. Teacher, shall I go for rounds? Song Xiao said without raising her head, when Lin Chuxia comes back, you all go together. Wang Jing bit her lip, retreated to her seat and sat down, tears overflowed from her eyes uncontrollably, and dripped onto the table, wet a big circle. Song Xiao sighed secretly, pretending not to see. She regretted turning a blind eye to Wang Jing before. For an insecure and fragile person, the more you don't let her bear the wind and rain, the more vulnerable she will be. How can such a psychological quality become a qualified doctor? How can you really stand alone? She sighed again, and forced herself not to think about it, nor to look at it, for she was afraid that she would soften her heart again, which would really hurt her. It happened that Chuxia hurried into the office at this time. Song Xiao said, Chuxia, hurry up and go to the ward round with your senior sister. Yes, Chuxia answered and came to her desk to find the record book, took the blood pressure monitor and thermometer, and hurriedly chased them out. When she found all the equipment, Wang Jing had already left the door. On the way, when meeting acquaintances, Wang Jing smiled and greeted Chuxia, but she always liked to ignore her. Seeing her like this, Chuxia understood that she should be crying to accuse her of failing to succeed. Now take all your anger out on yourself. She didn't mind the other party ignoring her, but when they went to make rounds to inquire about the patient, how could the patient believe their appearance like this? Senior sister. Wang Jing pretended not to hear, and quickened her pace. Senior sister Wang Jing. Chuxia increased her voice. The little nurses who passed by all looked at the two of them. Wang Jing is a face-saving person, and she is afraid that Chuxia will call her again. Quickly slowed down, frowned, stared at Chuxia and said in a deep voice, "What's wrong?" Chuxia said bluntly, "We are going to do rounds now. It's not to fight. Can you please be a little more dedicated?" "Why am I not dedicated?" A trace of sarcasm flashed in Wang Jing's eyes, "is it me or you?" Asking for leave, meeting guests, are you here to be an intern or just a visit? No matter how unprofessional I am, I will never ask for leave every 3 days, let alone use this place as a reception room when I go to work. Lin Chuxia, do you think so? If you marry a good person, everyone must support you. I'm sorry, Wang Jing, can't do it. I rely on my own ability to make a living, I don't rely on the back door to make a living. If I don't like you, you can get someone to drive me away. I'm really convinced of you. When she said this, Wang Jing's voice was loud, causing several family members of the patients who passed by the two to look back from time to time. Chu Xia frowned, "Senior sister, if you have any complaints about my taking leave to meet guests, you can complain to me, or you can go to the hospital leader to sue me. But now, can I trouble you to adjust your emotions? The patient is already in a bad mood when he is sick. How does it feel to see us with cold faces and ignoring each other? In case of unrest, the inspection record is not accurate enough. Can you feel no guilt for affecting the recovery of patients? Or maybe she thinks what she said makes sense." Wang Jing ignored her, but closed her eyes and took a few deep breaths. Then, he squeezed out a stiff smile at her, "Let's go." Seeing that Wang Jing listened to her own words, Chu Xia didn't say anything more, and followed her to the ward. Song Xiao was in charge of 7 patients, divided into 3 wards. When Chu Xia and Wang Jing entered Ward 418, 2 interns, Jiao Maikan and Li Qing, led by Director Huang of the Outer Second Office, were leaving. Director Huang and Song Xiao didn't get along. As Director Wang's apprentices, Jiao Maikan and Li Qing naturally didn't like Wang Jing and Chu Xia. Seeing that they were late, they curled their lips in disdain. "Work carefully, the patient's health is a big deal," Jiao Maikan said. "Why aren't we serious?" Wang Jing, who was full of anger and had nowhere to vent her face, was so angry that she blushed. If she wasn't in the ward, she would probably be able to drag him and beat him up. Chu Xia sighed helplessly, and went straight to the 1 bed, 3 beds, and 4 beds that he was in charge of, distributed the thermometers to the patients' families, and took the sphygmomanometer to help the patients measure their blood pressure. The one on the bed was an old lady who had almost recovered from the inguinal hernia cut. She had a very optimistic personality. She stretched out her arm to measure Chu Xia's blood pressure, and her mouth was not idle. "Dr. Xiaolin, how old are you this year?" "Grandma, why do you ask people how old they are when you see them?" The old lady's grandson, in his 20s, smiled apologetically at Chu Xia. "My grandma is like this, chattering, and she has to nag when she grabs someone." A few words. Chu Xia answered with a smile, if it wasn't for such a cheerful and optimistic personality, how could grandma's body recover so quickly? "Dr. Xiaolin is really good at talking, I love to listen." The old lady squinted and smiled. "Dr. Xiaolin, my grandson is called Wang Xian. He is 23 years old and works in the post office. He has done his duty and worked hard." "Grandma." Wang Xian interrupted the old lady, blushing, "What are you doing?" "Dr. Xiaolin is a doctor, not an ant of the neighborhood committee." The old lady looked at her grandson innocently. "It was you who told me that Dr. Xiaolin is good looking and has a good temper. It would be great if you could find such a wife in the future." Wang Xian's face turned from red to purple, and he stared at the old lady angrily, unable to speak a word. "This child is still shy." The old lady shook her head amusedly, and looked at Chu Xia. "Dr. Xiaolin, the biggest problem with my grandson is shyness. After you and Director Song came to make rounds this morning, he was really so shy. Tell me, I don't think about it, I will be discharged from the hospital soon. If I don't say it now, will I have no chance?" The escort of the 3rd bed was a middle-aged woman, and she answered with a smile at this moment, "Grandma Wang, you only want good things. Dr. Xiaolin is so beautiful and capable, there must be someone." "That's not necessarily true," the old lady replied, and then looked at Chu Xia anxiously. Dr. Xiaolin, you don't have a date yet, do you? The low pressure is 80, and the high pressure is 125. After Chu Xia told Wang Jing the measurement data for recording, she smiled and replied to the old lady, Grandma Wang, I'm already married. Married so early, the old lady sighed with regret, and said again, yes, such a beautiful girl, how could it be our turn? Dr. Xiaolin married an officer, right? Yes. Chu Xia smiled and walked towards the third bed. The old lady turned her attention to Wang Jing, who was walking past, and seeing the slightly gloomy face of the other party, she said, Dr. Xiao Wang, you are also pretty good looking, you can only attract people by smiling more. Like. Wang Jing squeezed out a stiff smile, thought for a while, and explained to herself, the intern who went out just now deliberately targeted our director. I really can't laugh all of a sudden. He. The old lady smiled and said nothing more. The two finished their work in room 418, then turned around and entered room 419, and then room 420. Without exception, the patients in any ward liked Chu Xia more than Wang Jing, which made them feel depressed. Wang Jing lost her spirit even more. When she went downstairs after checking the room, she happened to meet Jiao Maiken, who she had met before. She glanced at Chu Xia, and looked at Wang Jing with a half-smile, when are you going to push this little junior sister away? What nonsense are you talking about? At that time at the door of the ward, Wang Jing endured it, but now, how can she bear it? She dragged Jiao Maiken into the small reception room with the door open. Chu Xia didn't want to get involved in this matter, but after thinking about it, if she left just like that, Director Huang would only make fun of Song Xiao for not being able to take care of the students, and always taking the students so scattered, so she followed in. Jiao Maiken was a little flustered when she was pushed into the small reception room without any precautions. Seeing that Chu Xia also came in, she rolled her eyes and said, Lin Chuxia, the most dissatisfied thing about you, senior sister, is that Director Song accepts an apprentice. Take one of her for the whole class. Let's go. One, you are born, your teacher Song still likes to listen to her, so you should be mentally prepared in advance, maybe one day she will kick you away. Senior sister Jiao, I just want to remind you that everyone is an employee of 401, no matter who loses face in front of patients, it will be 401's face. Chu Xia finished speaking and pulled Wang Jing to go outside. Senior sister, teacher still waiting for us. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 465. Last night, I couldn't sleep because of the warm pain. I cried a lot in the second half of the night. In the morning, I went to scraping and massage for more than 2 hours. I came back and slept for a long time. Finally, the throbbing pain at intervals of half a minute turned into 10 minutes. It hurts once every 20 minutes. The doctor said that if Nuan continues to suffer like this, it will develop into nervous migraine. It's a scary feeling. Remind everyone, don't stay up late, the watch will be the same as Nuan. There is no charge for the above words. Wang Jing glared at Jiao Maiken fiercely, and allowed Chu Xia to drag her out of the small reception room. Jiao Maiken was half a head shorter than Wang Jing, and she was guilty of being pushed here by force, so she wouldn't be rushing to find her at this time. To stop people. Lin Chuxia. After walking for a while, Wang Jing called Chuxia in a nasty voice. Huh? Chu Xia let go of her hand, and looked back at her questioningly. After some hesitation, Wang Jing asked, in your hearts, am I really what Jiao Maiken said? Chu Xia sized her up, seeing if she seemed to be lying, she said, do you want to hear the truth? That's right, that's what you are in everyone's mind. Wang Jing bit her lower lip and remained silent for a while. Chu Xia turned around and continued walking. After a while, the footsteps approached, and Wang Jing chased after her, do you think I'm not worthy of being with the teacher? Chu Xia sighed, stopped, and looked at her seriously. Senior sister, you have been with the teacher for so long, you should know that if you have no ability or talent, the teacher can't keep you by my side forever, right? Wang Jing's eyes were full of hesitation. But you. Chu Xia interrupted her. Senior sister, why do you care what other people think first? Are you living for yourself or for others? It's because you live for yourself that you have to care about other people's opinions, don't you? Otherwise, how can you be so patient with patience? This is really godlike logic. Chu Xia sighed helplessly. I am patient with patience because of professional ethics. I am in a bad mood when I am sick. Do we want to make people look cold and make things worse? You really didn't treat them well just to make them say hello to you. Wang Jing looked at her suspiciously. But you in front of me and you in front of patients are definitely not the same person. If you want me to be different in front of you and in front of others, it's very simple. I will be patient and polite to you when you become a patient. Ba, ba, ba. Wang Jing spat 3 times. Staring at Chu Xia dissatisfied, are you cursing me? I'm healthy. I won't get sick. Chu Xia rolled her eyes speechlessly. You asked for it yourself, who is to blame? You have also seen the attitudes of Jiao Maiken and Li Qing just now. What I mean is, as a junior, can't you respect me? After all, I have been here longer than you. After all, I am your senior sister. Yes, wrong. Where did I disrespect you? You. Wang Jing couldn't tell exactly where Chu Xia didn't respect herself, but she just felt uncomfortable. Respect is earned by myself. It is not forced. Chu Xia looked at her indifferently. If you want me to truly respect you, then don't always try to deal with me when you have nothing to do. You also said that Jiao Maiken and Li Qing didn't treat you well. But why do they treat you badly? If you didn't think of a way to toss your juniors and juniors away before, but took them with sincerity, would they dare to treat you with such an attitude? You. Wang Jing frowned. You mean, all the former juniors and juniors were tossed away by me? What? Did I wrong you? Yes, you wronged me. Newcomers, which one didn't start with cleaning? Why can others do it, but they can't? Are you arguing for them, or are you arguing for yourself? It's unreasonable. Chu Xia didn't bother to chatter with her anymore, turned around and walked to the office. There were 5 or 6 people lined up outside the office, and Chu Xia stepped in to help Song Xiao take notes. Wang Jing followed her into the door. Seeing that she had sat down next to Song Xiao, her face became very ugly. Before getting off work, Song Xiao took Chu Xia and Wang Jing to the wards for the last round, and the old lady in room 418 smiled and said, Dr. Song, the Dr. Xiaolin you brought has a good personality. If she came to the ward twice a day, I would definitely recover very quickly. Song Xiao just laughed. Grandma Wang, I didn't expect our Dr. Xiaolin to have such a role. It seems that in the future, let her come to the ward more often, so that the patients will suffer less and save more money. She is doing a good deed. The people in the ward were laughing and booing, and they all had the same opinion, that is, Dr. Xiaolin is welcome to come and make everyone look good. Obviously, at this time, there is a clear difference between the aesthetic vision of the city and the aesthetic vision of the countryside. In the countryside, Dr. Xiaolin is absolutely unattractive. Coming out of the ward, Chu Xia and Wang Jing went back to the office directly, while Song Xiao took the notebook and went to a large office outside to talk to the General Dr. Li Qiazu, who was on the evening shift. Wang Jing's face remained somber, so Chu Xia didn't bother to talk to her, packed her own things, and Song Xiao's, and sat on a chair waiting for Song Xiao to come back. Lin Chuxia, let's have a serious talk, Wang Jing said. What's there to talk about? Chu Xia's head was full of black lines. It was obvious that she had a problem with her personality, and she insisted on dragging others to talk about this and that. What she said was clear enough, Why did Wang Jing still drag her along? Of. Wang Jing stared at her with a dark face. Do you think that if you are not allowed to clean up or do odd jobs, it is really treating you well? Okay, then I will not let you do these things in the future. I will do them. Fine. Chu Xia glanced at her, nodded, whatever. Wang Jing was unhappy. What's your attitude? Are you tired? Chu Xia frowned and stared at her. Do you feel uncomfortable if you don't torment others? Can't you just get along properly? Song Xiao came in, saw the two people who were at war, and sighed, what's wrong with you two? Wang Jing went first to close the office door. Inserting the latch again, he turned around and said to Song Xiao, teacher, if this continues, I'm going to go crazy. Let's explain things clearly today, okay? Chu Xia glanced at the time. Teacher, I have something to do tonight, can I go first? You can't go. Wang Jing raised her voice sharply, staring at Chu Xia with a frown. It is because of you that there is a rift between me and the teacher. Today's conversation is because of you. If you leave, the teacher and I will be separated. How can we talk about it? Chu Xia looked at Song Xiao silently. Go back. Song Xiao waved Chu Xia. Turning to look at Wang Jing, Chu Xia's family has important matters, so let's talk about what you have to say after a few days. Understood. Sniffing, Wang Jing tried to suppress the sound of crying, and began to tidy up the pens and notebooks on the table. Her hands were shaking all the time, and she dropped the pens to the ground several times. Chu Xia sighed, senior sister, why are you doing this? Your troubles are all caused by yourself, and I follow the teacher. I just want to study medicine well and become a real doctor one day to heal diseases and save lives. As for you, senior sister, I believe that's the same idea. You and I are not competitors. Didn't I say that when the two of us unite, outsiders will look up to us? If you keep fighting like this, you and I will lose face. The teacher's face was also bright. I didn't mean not to talk to you today, it's because there are really important things at home. My husband has just returned from a mission for more than a month, and will leave soon. Today is the day of family reunion. I am late, and it is shameful. I hope you can understand. Boom. After knocking on the door, Lin Wenbin's voice came, Chu Xia, are you off work yet? Teacher, I'm leaving. Chu Xia greeted Song Xiao, picked up her bag, hurried out, opened the door. Lin Wenbin and Jing Zhe were standing outside. Jing Zhe looked inside, and smiled at Song Xiao. What kind of academic theory are you doing? I'm afraid that others will keep the door closed after learning it. That's right, what if I let you learn it? Song Xiao waved at him while smiling, come on, don't waste your time here. After Chu Xia's group left, Song Xiao looked at Wang Jing with a headache. What are you doing all this time? Is it true that you can't stay by my side anymore or what? No. Wang Jing raised her head and looked at Song Xiao with red eyes. I can't get over the hurdles in my heart, and I feel that she is always laughing at me. Why did she laugh at you? I like Jing Zhe, but Jing Zhe has a fiancé, and I am trying to curry favor with her and hope she can help me set up a relationship. She must be laughing at me behind my back. Song Xiao sighed, you are too sensitive, forget it. Originally Chu Xia didn't let me tell you this, but since you said so, I'd better not let her take the blame. About Jing Zhe, I was wrong. At that time, when you said you liked him, I agreed to help you connect. I was absolutely sincere at the time. After all, you have been with me for so many years, and you know that Wang Lei brought you up. It's not easy for you. I really hope that you marry well, so that Wang Lei can rest assured. But in a blink of an eye, I knew that Jing Zhe already had a fiancé. I wanted to tell you, but seeing the longing on your face, I just couldn't say the words that came to my lips, so I wanted to find a suitable time to tell you again. As a result, the more you procrastinate, the more you can't tell. When Chu Xia came back, she felt that I did not do it right. She said that the longer you procrastinate, the more you will be hurt. It is right to tell you as soon as possible. I am afraid that you will hate me and ruin it. For so many years of our teacher-student relationship, she took the initiative to take over this matter. Unexpectedly, you were stuck on the edge of a dead end and couldn't get out. Wang Jing, to be honest, after this incident, I regret it very much. In the past, I always felt that it was because of your living environment since you were a child that you didn't feel safe. You will become more possessive, and when you get older, you will naturally think about some things. But now it seems that I was wrong. Personality will never change with age. If you don't change your personality, it will be difficult to become a really good doctor. As a doctor, what you hold in your hands is the health and life of the patient, and you can't even control your emotions. How can you guarantee the health and life of the patient? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 466. The second watch arrives. If you can't even control your own emotions, how can you guarantee the health and life of the patient? Back home, these words were still echoing in Wang Jing's mind over and over again, and she felt a little out of control. Seeing her niece poking rice grains and not eating vegetables, Wang Jing's sister-in-law Wang Lei frowned unhappily. "Xiao Jing, eat well." Wang Jing came back to her senses, sighed, and put down her chopsticks. "Sister-in-law, I have something on my mind and I can't eat." "If you can't eat, you have to eat." Wang Lei glared at her. "How many times have I told you that without a good body, you can't do anything, and the most important thing is to wait until you are full." Wang Jing obediently picked up the bowl to eat. "My sister-in-law has a unique paranoid about eating. If she dares to refute again, she will surely stab a hornet's nest. One person cooks, and the other cleans the dishes." This is the rule that Wang Lei and Wang Jing have followed for so many years. Therefore, after eating, Wang Jing will consciously pick up the bowls and plates and go to the kitchen. Wang Lei sighed and followed in. "I'll do it, tomorrow you can do it for me." "Okay," Wang Jing responded and withdrew. She and her sister-in-law have always been like this, so sometimes she feels that it's not because of her that she doesn't get married, but because of her temperament. No one can bear it. A woman who never speaks in a gentle tone, always makes things clear, and never lets others take advantage of her. Adopting her was just planning for her own future, and because she always thought so, she didn't feel much gratitude to her sister-in-law. Everything she got, she will have to give one day. What is there to be grateful for? After tidying up the kitchen, Wang Lei sat beside Wang Jing. After looking at her for a while, he said, "Aren't you going to talk to me?" Wang Jing smiled far-fetchedly. "The work is not going my way, I can handle it." Wang Lei sighed. "Xiao Jing, what does your sister-in-law look like in your heart?" Not knowing what Wang Lei meant, Wang Jing just stood there hesitantly, not knowing how to answer. One cannot choose one's own origin, one cannot choose one's parents, and one cannot choose what can and cannot be encountered in this life. I go back to the city. When you first saw me, you looked timid and scared. It made me feel very uncomfortable, so I talked to your father and my eldest brother, hoping he can treat you better. He cried, a big man, cried in front of me. He said he wanted to treat you very much, but he didn't want to break up that family. I really didn't understand him at the time, I think. Anyway, you are also his biological daughter. How could he tell me so frankly that he can't do anything? I have a very good relationship with your biological mother. When you were born, I haven't gone to the countryside yet. I took care of her confinement, so my feelings for you are different from the feelings I have for other nephews and nieces. I thought about it all night. I decided to adopt you, although there were some twists and turns with your stepmother. But in the end, you successfully became my adopted daughter. In fact, when you were picked up by your stepmother, Wang Liang, who went to the countryside with me, found me. He said that he had also transferred back and was willing to marry me. At that time, I just agreed to think about it out of a woman's reserve, and then, in the process of thinking about it, you came back again. Wang Liang didn't mind, but his family couldn't. They proposed that if they didn't send you back to the eldest brother's house, they wouldn't accept me into Wang's house. I was very contradictory at the time. I was 31 years old at the time. If I didn't get married, it might be difficult to meet a man I liked in the future. If I got married, I would give up on you. But you had already fallen out with your stepmother in order to be with me. If I don't want you anymore, your life will probably be ruined. After careful consideration, I rejected Wang Liang. He said that he was willing to give me a year to consider, and he did as he said, waiting for me for a whole year. In 1 year, my relationship with you has deepened, and it is even more impossible to abandon you. At the same time, I also think that if he loves me, why can't he accept you together? Even if his family objects, why doesn't he? Can you fight against your family? Constantly quarreling, the relationship between the two of us really came to the edge, and soon, he married a female factory worker who was 3 years younger than me. This incident made me very desperate and disappointed, and at the same time, I was also very scared. What would you do if one day I left this world? So, I started to exercise your ability to be self-reliant and self-improving. I will let you do all the work within your power. I can see that you are unhappy, but I must do this with all my heart. If your heart softens, I can't guarantee that you will live happily in the future, so I have to make myself hard-hearted. It may be my way of doing things that makes you feel particularly insecure. If I could turn back time, I would definitely not use this method. I would tell you truthfully my feelings for you and my concern for you. Xiaojing, I adopted you not to let you provide me with retirement, I just want to bring you up well. If you want to leave me now, I will never stop you. Sister. Wang Jing burst into tears. Why are you telling me this now? Why have you made me hate you for so many years? Why have you made me wrong you for so many years? I always thought that you are good to me. With reason. Hey, Wang Lei sighed heavily, and patted Wang Jing in her arms. Now you know, so it's not too late to learn to trust. Wang Jing was sobbing. Sister-in-law, don't you plan to let me go? Only you don't want my sister-in-law, and my sister-in-law will never want you. Wang Lei's voice was also a little choked. I didn't regret giving up my marriage back then, I just regret that I didn't teach you well, I didn't give you a sound personality. When I received a call from Song Xiao today, I regretted wanting to kill you. I thought I wanted to train you, but in fact, I pushed you into the pit of fire. Xiaojing, I'm sorry, sister-in-law is sorry for you. Did the teacher say she doesn't want me? Wang Jing looked at Wang Lei worriedly. Sister-in-law, did she say that she wants me to leave her? No. Wang Lei shook her head. She is also regretting, because of your life experience, she has always been extra tolerant to you, and in the end it made you go further and further on the wrong path. She called me because she didn't want you going further and further down the wrong path. Xiaojing, you should be most grateful to her in this life. She never goes through the back door, but she made an exception for you. Wang Jing was a little unconvinced and said, Lin Chuxia is also going through the back door, right? She also told me about that child. Xiaojing, don't you think you want to learn from that child? Do you think that if she is really incompetent, the aristocratic family will take a fancy to her? Wang Jing thought for a while, and said, she's pretty good looking, the kind of looks that men especially like. You've been with her for so long, and you can tell me fairly, who is better at dealing with people than you? Who learns things faster? Wang Jing just lowered her head and said nothing. Think about other people's strengths, don't always stare at your own strengths and compare them with others' weaknesses, and being good looking is not a weakness. You may not like to hear my sister say that, but the fact is that sometimes people take themselves too seriously, so they don't take others seriously. If you can treat others fairly and treat yourself fairly, then your future will definitely be what you expect, otherwise, you will only grow more and more resentful, more and more disappointed, and finally, ruined himself. Wang Jing was silent for a long time, and said, "Sister-in-law, I need to think about it." Wang Lei patted her, "Okay, it's impossible for you to figure it out all at once. Think about it carefully. In short, you have to believe that no matter what time comes, my sister-in-law is willing to be your backing." The Zhou family, at this time, is a lively scene. Zhou Mikang came back, Zhou Jingping and Mr. Zhou also came back, Zhou Jiping and his wife and Zhou Xiangping and his wife also rushed back. I haven't seen each other for more than a month. The family feels happy even if they sit without talking. Of course, this is just a metaphor. In fact, everyone, mainly Zhou Xiangping, is speechless mouth. Ying'er huddled in Chu Xia's arms, with a sweet smile on her face. Zhou Jiping's heart softened, she couldn't help but stepped forward and pinched her face. "Ying'er, let second aunt hug you." Ying'er looked up at Chu Xia with her small head up, her eyes full of questions. "Ah, the relationship between you two is so good now?" The second aunt is jealous. Zhou Jiping made an angry look while talking, and Ying'er's little face became disturbed. Chu Xia put Ying'er on the ground with a smirk. "Let second aunt hold her, remember, you have to stay with her every step of the way, let her hold her wherever she goes." "Okay," Ying'er responded, slipped into Zhou Jiping's arms with a smile, hugged her neck tightly, and called softly, "Second aunt." Zhou Jiping, who originally felt a little regretful because of Chu Xia's exhortation, immediately felt his heart flutter again. He hugged Ying'er tightly in his arms, and kissed her little cheek. "My little niece is so sweet." Ying'er grinned and said, "My little aunt washed it for me. The little braids look really nice. My little aunt pierced it for me. The dress is also pretty. My aunt bought it for me." Zhou Jiping. "What on earth is not my little aunt's handwriting?" Zhou Xiangping leaned over. "Ying'er, tell fourth aunt, is it better to be little aunt or fourth aunt?" Chu Xia just rolled his eyes. "Don't let this kind of mentally retarded idiot fool the children, okay? Can the children she teaches be stumped by such problems?" "Sure enough," Ying'er grinned, "it's all good. Then what if you have to choose a better one?" "Of course it's my little aunt." Ying'er looked at her seriously. "My little aunt often sends me to the Yaheng class. It would be even better if my second aunt and fourth aunt would also send me off often." Zhou Jiping. Zhou Xiangping. Who taught the brats to be so good at digging holes? First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 467. One more. Seeing someone smiling triumphantly, Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping looked at each other, holding someone tightly in the middle. "Siblings, when will you give us a little nephew?" "Yes, sister-in-law 3, I am in a hurry to send my little nephew to Yaheng class." Can these words disarm Chu Xia? What a joke. The smile on the corners of someone's lips didn't fade. "My little nephew can't steal the limelight from my little nephew, you have to hurry up, so as not to delay my little nephew from going to school." Sister-in-law 3. Zhou Xiangping looked at her speechlessly. "Are you just married?" "I'll ask your third brother," Chu Xia said while breaking the hands of the two of them, trying to get up to find Zhou Mikang. Seeing that her expression did not seem to be fake, Zhou Xiangping was so frightened that she held her tightly and refused to let go, apologizing incessantly. "Sister-in-law, I was wrong, I was wrong, I was really wrong, please don't let me go, don't tell third brother, I don't want to touch his ass." "Ft," Zhou Jiping spat, "little si, you want to touch your third brother's ass all the time?" Haha. Is this the second sister who was in the same trench as her? Zhou Xiangping gave her a bitter look, and quickly explained, Sister-in-law, I don't want to touch the third brother's butt, I mean, the third brother's butt is a tiger's butt, so you can't touch it? Chu Xia suppressed her laughter and made a serious face, isn't the meaning still the same? No, it's not the same. Zhou Xiangping wanted to cry anxiously. Her third brother always looked at her, and it seemed that she was about to come over. If her third brother knew that she dared to tease her like that, sister-in-law, will you just drag her onto the tiger stool? I'll tell third uncle Ying who was standing aside and watching the excitement, couldn't understand what it meant. But now in her little mind, the third aunt is the closest to her. She wanted to help the third aunt, so she took a step with her short legs. Dida ran to Zhou Mikang's side. Zhou Xiangping was in a hurry, and Chu Xia was also embarrassed. The children are not sensible. If they repeat the truth, they will be ashamed of adults. Even in front of their family, it is awkward to say. Sister-in-law 3, you killed me, Zhou Xiangping said as she hurriedly chased after her, when she came close. I heard Ying say, my little aunt wants to tell my third uncle, my fourth aunt won't let my little aunt talk, and my second and fourth aunts are holding my little aunt away. Zhou Xiangping quickly stepped forward to hold her little hand, and smiled at Zhou Mikang and Zhou Zikang Lin Wenbin, we're just joking around, little girl is serious, she and her little aunt are real relatives. What do you want to tell me in early summer? Zhou Mikang asked. Zhou Xiangping, who was nervous at first, immediately put down her heart, and said with a smile, it's nothing. I was just joking, third brother, I'll take Ying there. Ying kicked her calf and refused to leave, fourth aunt, you are lying. You and second aunt dragged the little aunt to prevent her from coming, you are not joking. Little thing. You can really make a fuss, Zhou Xiangping forcibly picked her up and left, oh. Ying who hadn't practiced crying for a long time, was stabbing a hornet's nest. It's fried. Chu Xia hurried forward and took the little girl from the embarrassed Zhou Xiangping, don't cry, don't cry. Didn't Ying promise my little aunt not to cry to solve the problem? If you are disobedient, my little aunt won't like it is you. The little girl quickly stopped crying, sobbing, and choking, the fourth aunt won't let Ying talk to the third uncle, and the fourth aunt and the second aunt bully the little aunt. Chu Xia wiped away the tears from her face, and said with a smile, I know that Ying loves little aunt, but fourth aunt and second aunt are really playing with little aunt, and they are very dear to little aunt and Ying The little girl widened her watery eyes, really? Real? The eyes of a child who just cried are like the sky after the rain, clear and bright, and the intimacy and distress are clearly written in it. In early summer, I feel soft and warm in my heart. Every day when she came back, she would take Ying to play with Wan Lao, tell her a story, teach her to sing a nursery rhyme. The most important person in the other party's heart. This kind of dedication and reward made her happy and gave her a sense of responsibility. In the future, she should be more careful when speaking in front of the little girl. Seeing that the little girl had calmed down, she whispered in her ear, Ying fourth aunt and second aunt are very embarrassed now, can you go and tell them that you like them? After hesitating for a while, the little girl nodded, and Chu Xia let her go. Second aunt, fourth aunt, Ying likes you guys, the little girl said timidly as she snuggled up to Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping, who looked embarrassed. Both Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping felt a little sour and guilty. They didn't like Zhou Yiping, so when they first knew that the child was being sent back, they were all against it, thinking that it was a deliberate trick of the Xiao family, and they might take the child back when everyone showed affection. Knowing that they can't get it, it's better not to give. This was their thought, but now, they really realized that they were wrong, the child is innocent, and the parents' fault should not be borne by the child. Even if the child is going to leave this home one day, then they should treat her well and give her the warmth of home when she stays here, so that they can't really have a clear conscience and no regrets. Zhou Jiping held Ying'er in her arms, but turned her gaze to Chu Xia. Thank you, brother and sister. What can I thank you for? Chu Xia laughed. Do you still treat me as a family and always be polite to me? No, I thank you, it's because you let me figure out some things. Zhou Jiping smiled embarrassedly. So much older than you, the environment is really far behind you. Chu Xia's eyebrows and eyes curled up with a smile. Second sister, I like to hear compliments, please say a few more words. Fourth sister, please praise me too. Sister-in-law San, you have a thick skin. Zhou Xiangping smiled and snatched Xiao Ying'er from Zhou Jiping's arms. Don't teach Xiao Ying'er to be so thick-skinned. Ying'er struggled to get down from her arms, walked up to Chu Xia, looked at her carefully, and after a while, turned around to look at Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping seriously, and finally concluded, fourth ant has thick skin, little ant is not thick. Among the three, Zhou Xiangping had the longest face, so Zhou Jiping burst out laughing, and hugged Ying'er. Xiao Ying'er, you are so cute, no wonder your little ant likes you so much. It is a happy thing to be praised, and the little girl grinned with eyebrows crooked. Zhou Yueping, who was sitting not far away chatting with Mrs. Zhou and Lin Yangkaiu, had been paying attention to the situation of the younger generation. At this moment, she looked at Mrs. Zhou with a smile. Mom, I was always wondering that Chu Xia has been living in that closed. How could he know so much in this small mountain village? Now he understands what's going on. Thinking back then, the old lady of the Lin family was definitely a first-class and smart person, and Lin's healing was absolutely outstanding among our generation. With such good genes, it is no wonder that Chu Xia is so outstanding. What you said also makes sense. When I chatted with Wan Lao that time, he talked about the time he got along with Chu Xia before, and said that Chu Xia was the only one who got close to him among the children in the village. His books, piano, and other children would go to read them when there was a lot of excitement, but at most once, they would never talk to him again. Only Chu Xia would grind him to read books every day. He likes studious children, so he tries his best to teach Chu Xia. People, there really is a cause and effect, and now, how close Chu Xia is to Wan Lao, this child is a grateful one. Well, it's good for Ying'er to spend more time with Chu Xia. Zhou Yueping nodded. You see, who liked Ying'er when she first came, but now, she's too sensible. The old lady Zhou sighed. Yes, but fortunately Lu Yue sent Ying'er here. This age is when the child's character is gradually forming. If it is a few years later, it will be difficult to correct her. Adults are ignorant, and it is the children who suffer the most. By the way, Zhou Yueping lowered her voice, I heard from Yu Li the other day that when she went shopping at a supply and marketing agency, she saw a figure who looked very much like Lu Lingmei. She thought I chased after him, but I turned a corner and got lost. The old lady Zhou sighed. Didn't Xiaomi keep asking his comrades to help find out Iping's whereabouts, but they didn't find Iping's whereabouts, but found her whereabouts? Forget it, don't mention her anymore, this woman, it is the greatest shame of the Zhou family. Mom, do you know, Lin Yangkai raised her eyebrows, when did this happen? Why don't I know anything about it? Recently, Xiaomi has a comrade in arms named Qin Hai. Do you still have any impression? Zhou Yueping nodded. Of course I remember, he fell in love with Iping back then and asked Xiaomi to match him up, but Iping wanted to marry Xiao Yuan wholeheartedly, so he called him a black dog who wanted to eat swan meat. Because of this, Iping I haven't spoken to Xiaomi for 3 months, but I remember it clearly, and my sister-in-law also has an impression. Lin Yangkai was always upset about her son's unfavorable efforts, so she curled her lips. I'm impressed, if she was willing to marry Qin Hai back then, she wouldn't have ended up like this. It was this Qin Hai who discovered her. Mrs. Zhou sighed, she lives with a man in his 50s. Qin Hai found out that he is Yunai's father-in-law. What, Zhou Yueping looked disbelieving, It's Yunai's father-in-law Zhang Tianbei who has the best relationship with Iping. Yes, it's Zhang Tianbei. Mrs. Zhou sighed heavily. Zhang Tianbei should also think that this is not an honorable thing, and he didn't publicize it. Yunai is kind and didn't tell it, otherwise, where to put Shanping's face? Zhou Yueping shook his head speechlessly. I can't tell. Lu Lingmei is quite capable, she is quite old, and Zhang Tianbei can marry her. But we in Chuxia really repaid our grievances with kindness, and it was only the two of them who were picky about Chuxia, but now, Ying'er can get better, all thanks to Chuxia. Speaking and looking at Lin Yangqiu, sister-in-law, you can't play the prestige of your mother-in-law to Chuxia, this child is really not picky. Lin Yangqiu gave her a white look. It's too late for me to love her, how can I play prestige? I'm just saying, why are you unhappy? Zhou Yueping smiled, and knew that it was a bit out of place for her to worry, but in fact, she just wanted to hurry up. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 468. In the second watch, the plot of this episode will convince the Zhou family to agree to practice medicine in early summer. When the Lin family was looking for relatives, the Zhou family didn't get involved. It wasn't because they didn't pay attention or care, but because of the Zhou and Lin's marriage, the status difference was too great. Afterwards, the Zhou family did not take the initiative to contact the Lin family in the capital, not to put on airs, but out of respect for Chuxia's parents, and hoped that the real connection would be established through both of them. What I didn't expect was that before Chuxia's parents came back, Lin Wenbin arrived first. If he didn't entertain or meet up at this time, it would be really rude. Therefore, this evening, which was originally a family reunion dinner for the Zhou family, turned into a reception banquet to welcome Lin Wenbin. City lives next to the capital city, and the Zhou family is on par with the Lin family in the capital city. Although Lin Wenbin is a junior, his appearance now represents the Lin family in the capital city, so he naturally received the warm hospitality of Mr. Zhou. Lin Wenbin has an outgoing personality and is very good at speaking. After a while, he chatted with Mr. Zhou, Zhou Jingping, Su Zhenghong, Zhou Zikang, Zhou Mikang, and others. Brothers Zhou Gangping and Zhou Shanping seldom talked to each other, so they just sat on the side to listen. Su Yan and Su Shuxian also came over with Zhou Yueping and Su Zhenghong, and the youngest Zhou Huikang huddled with them and chatted enthusiastically. In the matter of finding relatives, thanks to Jing Mo Nian and Jing Jie, Mr. Zhou wanted to invite them too. It was stopped by Zhou Mikang. Zhu Xingkan didn't know about Jing Monian and Zhang Xinwan's affairs. It would be meaningless if the couple had conflicts because of this. What Zhou Mikang meant was that this gratitude should be recorded in the account first. When the Jing family is in need, the Zhou family will definitely step up as soon as possible. A true friend does not pay back what you owe immediately, but never loses the chain when the other party is in need. Feeling that what Zhou Mikang said was reasonable, Mr. Zhou didn't insist anymore. The atmosphere of the dinner was very harmonious, and Mr. Zhou also made an agreement with Lin Wenbin that after the new year was over, let Chuxia and Zhou Mikang go to the Lin family in the capital to pay New Year's greetings to the elders, and the relatives will officially move around in the future. As for whether there is any cooperation and help between the two, it has not reached that point yet. I believe that after a long time, some things needless to say, and they will naturally get on the right track. Just as she cleared the table and sat down to drink tea, the doorbell rang. Xiaojing ran out quickly, and then hurried back to Mr. Zhou's side. He whispered, "Master, it's a female comrade in her 30s who said she was looking for you. Her surname is Qin. Let her in." Mr. Zhou couldn't figure out who it was for a while. But it must be something important to find here at this time. Just nodded, "Let him in." When Xiaojing came in with a woman in her 30s, Zhou Shanping immediately stood up. His face was flushed. "What are you doing at our house?" Both Chu Xia and Zhou Mikang knew this person. It was Chin Mei, the cabinet manager, who had a bad attitude when the two went to the hunky supply and marketing building to buy all kinds of dim sum. Of course, his attitude was good later, but at that time the good attitude was not aimed at customers, but at Zhou Shanping's relatives. Chin Mei gave Zhou Shanping a sad look, then thumped and knelt down to the old man. "Uncle, please make the decision for me. Speak up." Mr. Zhou frowned and looked at Zhou Shanping. "Do you know her?" Zhou Shanping nodded. "She is the cabinet manager of Class A in the general store area of our unit, and her name is Chin Mei." Chu Xia has been paying attention to Chin Mei's expression, and found that after she got up, the expressions of the people in this room were obviously stiff, especially when she saw her and Zhou Mikang. The expressions were even more unnatural. She rubbed against Zhou Mikang, and said in a low voice, "It looks like I'm going to rely on third uncle, and third uncle's mouth is definitely not her match." Zhou Mikang nodded. "Understood. If she goes too far, I will help third uncle." Chu Xia squinted at him. "How can I help?" "Take it out." Chu Xia. "Just kidding, I'm not that stupid. As long as we tell what we saw that day, she won't be able to enter Joe's house. What Grandpa hates most is dog eyes looking down on people. It would be fine if it was only in front of his own family, but there are guests today." Zhou Shanping blushed and pulled Chin Mei. "Xiao Qin, if there is anything to do, we will talk about it at work tomorrow." "I can't tell you, I want to talk to Uncle Joe." Chin Mei struggled to keep her arms from going out. "If you force me again, I will tell my parents about our affairs and let them come to you parents judge. Dare to be generous." Zhou Yueping came over. "Xiao Qin, right? If you have something to say, don't think that people like us can let you handle it because of our good face." "Who are you?" Chin Mei looked at Zhou Yueping warily. "Can you be his master?" Zhou Yueping looked at her coldly. "No one can be his master. Of course, my third brother's own affairs are his own. But since you came in, if you are not allowed to finish the sentence, you must feel that we is bullying. Well, I'll see what kind of flower you can name, but don't blame me for not reminding you. If my third brother is wrong, my parents will definitely help you get justice, but if you want to wrong my third brother, then you are absolutely responsible for your actions." Zhou Yueping said the latter sentence almost through gritted teeth. Her third brother Zhou Shanping was so honest and upright that he was almost going to be stupid. If he said that he would bully this woman, he would not believe it if he killed her. Chin Mei straightened her body. "He originally agreed to talk to me, and we talked well, but later his nephew went shopping, and I don't know what he said to him. Suddenly, his attitude changed. Everyone in the unit knows that he is going to marry me, but now he ignores me and doesn't mention the marriage at all, and I have become a joke in the unit. If this continues, I won't be able to live anymore. I'm a big girl with yellow flowers, and my reputation has been ruined by him. If he doesn't take responsibility, I will drink dichlorvos." "When did I promise you?" Zhou Shanping blushed with anger and his neck was thick. "Xiao Qin, you are not the one who comforts people who have been wronged. I never promised you, and I told you, don't waste time on me. It's you who always go to find me. How dare you put all the shit on me now? If you didn't promise me, how could I get pregnant? This is too explosive." All eyes were on Zhou Shanping. "Don't you all look at me like this. I have nothing to do with her. I haven't touched her with a single finger. Even if she is pregnant, it has nothing to do with me. Chin Mei, if you still want to lose face, don't make trouble here. Feel your conscience and ask, since you entered the work unit, have I ever felt sorry for you? No matter who the child in your belly is, you can't wrong me like this. You should now find the child's father responsible, not me." "It's yours." Tears welled up in Chin Mei's eyes. "I've only had contact with you. I haven't touched any other man with a single finger. If the child isn't yours, whose is it?" The situation was unclear, and it was difficult for anyone to interrupt, so everyone could only look at Zhou Shanping in silence. Zhou Shanping's face turned black with anger at this time. He never thought that such a shit basin would fall on him from the sky. That's right, at the beginning, he was thinking about re-establishing a family with Qin Mei, but after his nephew and niece went shopping, his thoughts faded away. For a woman who is not what she looks like, marrying one is enough. If he circles himself in again, it's because he has something wrong with his brain. But he quit, but Qin Mei didn't allow it, so she went to report to him every day, confessed her mistake to him, and said that it was because she was in a bad mood that day that she didn't control herself well. After that, she did not make that mistake again at work, and he rejected her less, but the improvement in his attitude made her misunderstand, thinking that there was a possibility between the two of them again. It happened that Ying came to Zhou's house during that time. As Ying-er's grandfather, he had to be responsible no matter what, so he ran home after work every day. He didn't know until one day that the deputy director of the supply and marketing cooperative asked him when he would eat wedding candy. She had already told everyone in the unit that they had decided to get married. He was so angry that he went to find her, and she said tearfully that because she loved him, she had to use this method to force him to take this step bravely. To be honest, at that time, he was really shaken a little bit. He was only 50, it was too lonely to live a life like this alone. He also wanted to have a companion, as a man, a young companion who admired himself. It's actually a good choice. Although he was shaken in his heart, he firmly refused. During those few days, when he returned home, he found that Ying-er had changed little by little until she became completely different from before. This made him deeply realize how important it is to find a wife with good character, so when Qin Mei pestered him again, he rejected her with unprecedented coldness. Moreover, he no longer gave her face in public. He wanted to completely stop her from thinking about it, but he didn't expect that she would use such a method. This made him even more grateful for his wisdom. If he really married such a woman, his life would probably be ruined for real. Qin Mei, you and I have never been married, how can we get you pregnant? Zhou Shanping looked at Qin Mei and asked word by word. Qin Mei asked anxiously, why is there no real relationship between husband and wife? It was just in your office, Zhou Shanping, how could you hurt me like this? At this time, Mrs. Zhou had no choice but to say, third brother, what's going on? If you really did something wrong, you will admit it? Mom, you don't believe me either, the veins on Zhou Shanping's forehead bulged. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 469. One more. Mrs. Zhou couldn't be more clear about the temper of the youngest son. Seeing his anxious expression, she knew that the girl was here to blackmail someone, so she looked at Qin Mei with a cold face. Girl, you stop now and we can act like nothing happened. I'm really pregnant with his child. Qin Mei blushed. He always avoids me at work and never gives me a chance to talk. If I hadn't been desperate, I wouldn't have found him come here. If you, the elders, don't want him to take this responsibility, then my only choice is death. Are you threatening us? Mrs. Zhou stared straight at her. Who told you to do this? Qin Mei was taken aback. You, what do you mean? Who ordered you to come to Zhou's house to make trouble? Mrs. Zhou asked straightforwardly. Qin Mei was stunned for a while, her face turned from red to purple. Is this how your big family bullies people? I mustered up the courage to come here, because I was afraid that I would be too big to hide it. How could I let you abuse me like this? Now I swear to the old man, if what I said today is even a little bit of a lie, I will be caught in a big prison, killed by rats, and no one will collect my body. In this day and age, the old chairman is like a god. If she dares to say that, it means that she is really not lying. The old lady Joe is not sure now, so she looks at Joe Shanping in doubt. Mom, I can also swear to the old chairman that if I move her finger, I will also be caught in the big prison and killed by rats. No one will collect the body. Chu Xia has a black line, from the sincerity of Uncle Wednesday's words. She also believes that Uncle Wednesday is definitely not lying about this matter. But judging by Qin Mei's expression, it really doesn't look like she's lying. All the people look dignified. Except for Lin Wenbin and Chu Xia, everyone sitting here knew Zhou Shanping very well. No matter which one of the Zhou family did such a thing, it was impossible for him to do such a thing. However, Qin Mei's appearance doesn't look like a fake. Moreover, in this age, no one dared to lie to the old chairman. Even if the oath was not fulfilled, they would not be able to escape legal sanctions. Chu Xia's eyes fell on Qin Mei's stomach unconsciously, and suddenly a flash of inspiration flashed in her mind. She stepped forward and took Qin Mei's hand. Let me talk to you. You. Qin Mei struggled hard not to follow her. Chu Xia provoked her. Don't you dare. Qin Mei bit her lips. Okay. I will go with you. Seeing that Lin Yangqiu and others wanted to follow, Chu Xia hurriedly stopped him. Everyone wait a moment, let Comrade Qin and I have a private chat, maybe we will understand what's going on. Seeing the two disappear at the top of the stairs, Mrs. Zhou sighed, and looked at Lin Wenbin with a wry smile. Sorry, I made you laugh. Lin Wenbin hurriedly said, Grandma Zhou. I'm Chu Xia's cousin, and we belong to the same family. His implication was that no matter what the outcome of this matter is, everyone is a winner, and a loser. There is no need for the Zhou family to worry about him. This is also his cleverness. In fact, when Qin Mei first came in, he wanted to say goodbye, but if he really did that, the estrangement with the Zhou family would be formed. He avoided it because he wasn't close enough, so for the sake of Chu Xia, he chose to stay. The Lin family has always been full of yang and yin, and he loves Chu Xia from the bottom of his heart. Of course, not only him, everyone in the Lin family loves Chu Xia very much. It just so happens that he has the opportunity to take up a job, and the whole family agrees by letting him come to City A. In fact, for him, the best choice is not City A, but just as his grandfather said to him when he left, there will still be opportunities if he misses them, but his loved ones cannot be missed. Feelings can only be found by getting along with each other more, and they finally found them. They hope to do their best to make up for the debts of these years, so that the second grandfather and second grandmother can truly rest in peace. His answer made Mr. Zhou very pleased. He patted his shoulder with his big hand, and looked at Zhou Shanping. Third brother, you are all my family now. You really have nothing to do with that woman, right? Dad, I swear. Zhou Shanping leaned weakly on the sofa and sighed. Anyway, in my life, I never want to get married again. Zhou Huikang, who had been silent all this time, said, Dad, don't be so absolute. Forget it, let me help you find it in the future. My vision must be better than yours. Zhou Shanping gave his son an angry and funny look. Don't make trouble. If there is another scene like this, I will probably take a detour when I see a woman in my life. This is no trouble. Zhou Huaping looked at the old lady. Zhou, my dad clearly has a bad eye, but he wants to beat all women to death with one blow. Grandma, do you think I'm right? It's not up to you to worry about whether it's right or not. The old lady Zhou looked at Lin Yangqiu, Liang Xiaohong, and Zhou Yueping. You three give me long looks, and if you have good character and the right age, just make a fuss. Zhou Shanping said anxiously, Mom, please forgive me. I really don't want to look for it anymore. I haven't figured out this mess yet. You'd better let me rest. It's not that I'm asking you to look for it now. Do you think it's so easy to find a woman who is about your age, has a good heart, and can talk to you? The old lady gave her younger son a blank look, Anyway, don't worry about it yourself. The woman you fancy, one counts as one, I'm really scared. Zhou Shanping is an elder, and it is inconvenient for the juniors to talk, so they just sat on the side to set up the background board. Although the elders were joking, the atmosphere was so dignified. In this day and age, it is impossible for any family not to be serious about something like this today, but it would be more awkward to just sit silently at the moment, and the old lady beat the youngest son on purpose. However, she really doesn't want her younger son to find another half by himself. The younger son's vision of finding a wife is not ordinary. For the sake of the stability and unity of the Zhou family, it is still very important to kill this possibility in the cradle in advance. Necessary. After a while, Chu Xia and Qin Mei went downstairs one after the other. Qin Mei's face was pale, but her eyes were a little red. She had obviously cried. She went straight to Mr. Zhou and Mrs. Zhou, and bowed deeply, "I'm sorry, it's all my fault for disturbing you." Looking at it like this, the matter is over, so the old lady Zhou raised her hand falsely at her. "It's okay, as I said, if we stop here, we won't pursue it." After Qin Mei stood up straight, she looked at the elder with some anxiety. Can I leave?" "Yes," Mrs. Zhou said. Xiaojing hurried over and took Qin Mei away. Everyone turned their inquiring attention to Chu Xia. It is most likely that she is sick, and then she misunderstood that she was pregnant. "I have already agreed with her to go to 401 tomorrow and ask the teacher to help her check it out," Chu Xia said. Zhou Yueping looked puzzled. What disease can be misunderstood as pregnancy? After a little hesitation, Chu Xia still expressed his own judgment. "What kind of disease can only be known after an examination, but I suspect it is a tumor. According to the growth rate, it is more likely to be benign." "Nephew and daughter-in-law, thank you. Third uncle owes you too much." Zhou Shanping walked up to Chu Xia, bowed sincerely, and Chu Xia hurriedly supported him. "Third uncle, you and I are so polite, are you trying to kick me out?" No, Zhou Shanping waved his hands anxiously. "If you kick out anyone, you can't kick out your nephew and daughter-in-law." The old lady Zhou snorted. "I hear what you mean, who else do you want to kick out?" "Mom." Zhou Shanping said with a bitter face. "I don't think so, I'm stupid and you don't know," he said, and looked at Zhou Mikang. "Xiaomi, third uncle knows your feelings." Zhou Mikang looked at him seriously. "Third uncle, shouldn't you rectify the name of a woman now?" Zhou Shanping was stunned for a moment, then rubbed his head in embarrassment. Yes, it's because I don't have a good eye for people, and I can't kill a boatload of people with one blow. I was wrong." At this time, Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping had dragged Chu Xia back upstairs for interrogation, and they could see that it was probably inconvenient to talk about Qin Mei in front of everyone, but they were too curious. "Sister-in-law 3, what's the matter?" Once inside, Zhou Xiangping quickly closed the door and asked bluntly. Zhou Jiping also stared at Chu Xia curiously and impatiently. "Dong dong dong." Zhou Yueping shouted angrily from outside the door, open the door for me. Sister-in-law is very curious. Can I tell her in front of her? If not, I won't open the door." "If I can, let her in," Zhou Xiangping asked. Chu Xia nodded, yes. Zhou Xiangping trotted to open the door. Zhou Yueping, Lin Yangkaiu, Liang Xiaohong, Yu Tao, and the old lady Zhou all squeezed in. Zhou Yueping still didn't forget to give Zhou Xiangping a look. "You bastard, you're so selfish. Knowing that we are anxious to know the truth, you even locked the door. Do you want to beat me up?" Lin Yangkaiu also had a look of displeasure. "You child, the older you get, the more ignorant you become." "Chu Xia, what's going on?" Mrs. Zhou pulled a few people away, sat in front of Chu Xia, and asked anxiously. Daringly, the one with the strongest curiosity is the oldest one. Looking at this large group of people, Chu Xia really couldn't laugh or cry, but she really had to talk about the matter. Although she was a little embarrassed to say it, as a doctor, she couldn't have such thoughts. This kind of psychological hint from someone is very useful. After thinking about it for a while, she began to talk about the cause and effect with a calm face. Although I have not been married to this family for a long time, I think I understand the behavior of my third uncle, and Chin Mei also. It didn't seem like a lie, but I also noticed that Chin Mei's belly was a little fatter than her body, so I thought of a possibility, that is, she took the illness as pregnancy. Of course, I couldn't confirm it at the time, so I took her upstairs and asked her. Alone. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 470. The second watch arrives. Going back to the room at night, Zhou Mikang was also curious about how the problem was solved, so Chu Xia told the truth. After listening to Chu Xia, nothing happened to Zhou Mikang, but Zhou Mikang blushed. He really didn't expect the truth to be like this. In later generations, some couples have been infertile for many years due to lack of sex education. They suspected that it was a physical problem, but they were too embarrassed to seek medical treatment. When they were finally found out, there were reports that were ridiculous. Chu Xia read it as a joke at the time, but unexpectedly it came in handy now. Thinking about the era she lived in, when the information was so advanced, some people would make such jokes, so in this era, such jokes are even less strange. Chin Mei's age is there, and she is so sure, everyone feels that she is trying to pour dirty water on Zhou Shanping. If she is younger, Lin Yangkaiu, the old lady of Zhou, should be able to tell from her face. See something? Chu Xia took Chin Mei upstairs to her bedroom, and asked her straightforwardly how to get pregnant. Chin Mei thought that Chu Xia was anxious to get married and never got pregnant and wanted to learn from her. After thinking about it for a while, she said that everyone's body is different, and she has no experience to teach her. Chu Xia had no choice but to ask the question more bluntly, and Chin Mei asked her with a look of surprise, "Don't you know how to get pregnant after being married for so long?" This really meant a bit to Niu Dankan. Chu Xia sighed helplessly, and said that if Chin Mei wanted to enter Zhou's house, she had to answer seriously, otherwise, she would not help her. Chin Mei has seen how much Zhou Shanping attaches to Zhou Mikang, so as Zhou Mikang's wife, Chu Xia should have a certain status in the Zhou family. Otherwise, everyone would not allow her to drag her into the room for a one-on-one chat. What it comes down to. That is to say, the Zhou family didn't believe that the child in her womb belonged to Zhou Shanping. Although she felt humiliated, for the sake of the child in her womb and her own future, she still told the story of her being intimate with Zhou Shanping. One day before Chuxia and Zhou Mikang went shopping, she went to Zhou Shanping's office to report to work after get off work. After the business was over, she confessed to Zhou Shanping, and the two hugged and touched. Now that she hasn't had her period for nearly 2 months, she must be pregnant. After confirming her guess, Chu Xia showed Chin Mei a post-marriage guidebook that her mother-in-law stuffed into her after she got married, and then she also expressed her suspicions that she didn't have her period for no reason, and her belly grew bigger again. And there is no prerequisite for pregnancy. Then there is only one possibility, sick. She asked Chin Mei to go to 401 for inspection. I also hope to fully understand this matter. Later generations have seen many people being casual in this regard, and have seen such traditional women. She couldn't help but fell in love with her, and she was an unmarried single woman in her 30s. In this era, if you really bulge your stomach, it is very likely that you will die. Before Chu Xia didn't realize that the problem was so serious, she only realized it after listening to Chin Mei's story. If the wind correction department catches her, not only Chin Mei herself will go to jail, but her family will also be unable to hold their heads up. In this way, it is not unforgivable for Chin Mei to make a fuss. When the mood calmed down, Zhou Mikang sighed and poked her little head. "You fool, Didn't you tell grandma quietly at that time, and let grandma ask about this? It must be awkward when third uncle sees you later. What do you say? How are you? Chusia rolled her eyes at her. I'm a doctor, what can I hide? In fact, she thought about telling the old lady Joe about her guess, and the old lady Joe would come forward, but she had an idea. Thinking of her current occupation, it would be better to be evasive than evasive, so she directly dragged Chin Mei into the room. If you guess right, the matter can be resolved satisfactorily, but if you guess wrong, you will be scolded at most, and it doesn't matter. As for the fact that meeting Zhou Shanping would be awkward, she really ignored it, and now she regrets it, but she doesn't want to admit it to Zhou Mikang. After pondering for a while, Zhou Mikang agreed with her statement. Yes, as a doctor, if you really worry too much, you will not be able to become a qualified doctor in the future. Well, that's what I think. After hesitating for a while, Chu Xia still told the truth. Next time I encounter such a thing, I will think more about it before making a move. I really ignored the feelings of third uncle, Zhou Mikang. You can go to Uncle San to have a heart-to-heart talk. I didn't think too much about it at the time, because I didn't want things to get worse. If Chin Mei brought her parents to make a fuss, even if we finally found out the truth, it wouldn't be good for us, right? You're right about this, but I'm a little hesitant. There's no man or woman in front of the doctor, so there's nothing wrong with such a trivial matter. Zhou Mikang rubbed her head lovingly. Don't think too much, I'll just do it right now. Go and explain to third uncle. Wait a minute, Chu Xia held him back. Forget it, don't explain it anymore, I'll explain it myself later. Okay, Zhou Mikang responded without asking any further questions. Aren't you curious about my explanation? Chu Xia asked suspiciously. Curiosity, but I don't want to interfere. Zhou Mikang hugged her with a smile. Come take a bath with me, and study it by the way. How to get pregnant is a big problem, and we must study it carefully. Hate, Chu Xia slapped her on the chest. You're laughing at me. I'm not laughing at you, I'm just jealous. You are studying this matter with others, why don't you study it with me? No, you have to study it with me, the group leader's Heisa said while forcibly hugging the little white rabbit who was still struggling. Into the bathroom. The rabbit was dragged into the wolf's den. Can it still escape? When eating early the next morning, Chu Xia quietly paid attention to Zhou Shanping's expression. Sure enough, the other party kept his head down, and no one was embarrassed to look at it. She felt a little regretful in her heart. She really didn't know enough about people of this era. It wasn't a big deal for her, but it might be a big deal for others. Others spoke less than usual. Obviously, everyone was awkward. After everyone put down their chopsticks, Chu Xia stood up. Grandpa, Grandma, I want to say a few words, is that okay? Of course, Mrs. Zhou hurriedly said. Xia, if you want to say something, you can say it with confidence. We are a family, and we don't have to pay attention to those messy things. I know, thank you Grandma. Chu Xia thanked the old lady and looked at Zhou Shanping. Third uncle, I'm sorry. No, Zhou Shan waved his hands anxiously. Third uncle should thank you, how can you say sorry? Third uncle, I didn't think carefully. At that time, I was only thinking about solving the problem. Moreover, I just learned some pseudo-diseases during this period. I was in a hurry to find out, so I forgot my scruples. Chu Xia looked at Zhou with an apologetic expression. Shanping, I know, because of my carelessness, third uncle felt awkward. I'm really sorry. It's me. Zhou Shanping's expression became more relaxed. After Chuxia, if you are a doctor, if you pay attention to everything, how can you become a good doctor? Zhou Huikang nodded. That's right, the patient is on the operating bed, so he can't be a woman and a man, right? That's the reason. Mrs. Zhou nodded. Actually, there is nothing to be taboo about this matter. We all feel that at Chin Mei's age, it is impossible to understand such things. Why did Chu Xia think of it? Because she is think from a doctor's point of view. From this point of view, our family Chusia really has the potential to become a good doctor, careful, calm, informal, and not petty. I originally supported Chusia to be a doctor, thinking that since she likes to have a job, she should be fulfilled and let her feel the respect of her in-laws, but I support her now because I hope that one day, she can really become a doctor. A doctor who makes the Joe family proud. The old lady said and looked at Chusia. Sia, will grandma say this to you? No, Chusia shook his head. I will try my best to do it. If I can't become a famous doctor, it can only mean that I am so talented, so I don't mind. That's a good mentality. Lin Yangqiu nodded in agreement. Don't make yourself too tired. It's easier to succeed if you are interested. If it is really a task, it will become a burden instead.